guys, it's Nasim here. Now today I'm going to be showing you guys the brand new iPhone 8.
Stop the cap.
But all jokes aside, I'm going to be giving you guys my review based on my 7-day use with the iPhone 8. Now the iPhone 8 launched back in 2017 along with the iPhone 8 Plus and the revolutionary iPhone X. So basically, it is one of the more forgotten iPhones that Apple has ever released. But I myself was one of those rare people who had an iPhone 8, and at that time, I thought that it was the most underrated phone of that year. It had flagship specs, it had an amazing display, it had great battery life, and it was one of the cheaper options, meaning that my money went a long way. But before I give you guys my in-depth experience of me using the iPhone 8 for about a week, I wanted to show you guys some specs to give you a clue on how outdated the iPhone 8 is. Now the iPhone 8 has an A11 Bionic chip, which is much older than the iPhone 13's A15 Bionic chip. The iPhone 8 has a 4.7-inch display compared to the iPhone 13's 6.1-inch display. The iPhone 8 has an 1821 mAh battery, while the iPhone 13 has a 3227 mAh battery. Now, even though there are some major differences, the iPhone 13 and the iPhone 8 actually have a lot in common. They both have 60 Hz refresh rate displays, they both have a 12 megapixel camera, they both support wireless charging, and they both support the latest version of iOS 15. And now that we've gone through and compared some of the main specs of the iPhone 8 and iPhone 13, I wanted to tell you guys what I really liked about the iPhone 8 when I use it every day for a week. And the first thing that I liked about the iPhone 8 is a very useful piece of hardware that a lot of the newer phones don't have, and that's an included headphone jack adapter. And throughout my week of using the iPhone 8, I was surprised by how much I used the headphone jack dongle. Like when I was in my friend's car and wanted to play my music through my phone, my friend only had a regular aux cord, and usually if I had a newer device with me, it would have been a problem. But with the iPhone 8, I didn't have to worry about that because it had the dongle that came with it. Another example is when my headphones died on me while I was at work, and the only way I could play music was through an aux cord, but I didn't panic because my iPhone 8 had a headphone jack, and I just plugged it in and kept listening to music. And there were many more extra reasons as to why the headphone jack dongle was extremely useful during my week of using the iPhone 8. Now, the next thing that I loved about the iPhone 8 after a week of use was the fact that it had something that the iPhone 13 didn't have, and that's a fingerprint sensor. And the fingerprint sensor was so helpful for me because I'm usually out or at work, so I'm always wearing my mask. And any iPhone user of today knows that in order to unlock your phone with Face ID, you'll have to pull that mask down, and this is very annoying if you're out and you have to keep pulling down your mask just to be able to use it. So Touch ID was a breath of fresh air because whenever I was out with my mask on, it took me little to no effort to unlock my phone. I didn't have to pull down my mask, and I didn't have to wait until the keypad shows up to get into my device. Now, the next thing that I loved about the iPhone 8 was the fact that it was actually much faster and smoother than I thought it was going to be. Like right here, you can just see how fast it is when scrolling through the interface, and even when I'm scrolling through the internet, it didn't really lag that much, which made my week fairly easy. Even doing other stuff like playing video games didn't give me any hiccups and still maintained great graphics with impressive speeds. And now the last thing that I loved about the iPhone 8 was the fact that overall, it was just very similar to the latest iPhones. Like the fact that it supports wireless charging, the fact that it still supports the lightning cable, the fact that it still has a very powerful chip, and the fact that it still supports the latest version of iOS 15 gave this phone a very new feeling. So now that I've told you guys what I've liked about the iPhone 8 in my day-to-day use, here are some things that I really didn't like that much. Now, the first thing that I didn't like about the iPhone 8 was the front display. And when I say display, I mean those huge bezels that take up most of the screen. Like right here, you can see I'm watching a YouTube video on my phone, and the screen is pretty small, making it a little harder to see thanks to those huge bezels. And the bezels were the only thing that made the iPhone 8 feel outdated to me. Everything else gave me a slightly current feeling except for that, so I ultimately started hating them. And now the next thing that I didn't like about the iPhone 8 during the time that I spent with it was the camera. And this is kind of an unfair critique because the camera was great for its time, but Apple has really been spoiling me with their latest cameras, and it was really hard to go back to what the 8 had to offer. Like right here, when we look at the pictures, we can see that the way the iPhone 8 handles certain situations weren't the best, especially when it came to indoor photos. And it's not that these pictures were bad, it's just that in the back of my mind, I kept comparing them to newer iPhones and the fact that they gave me a very outdated feel. But besides that, those were the only dislikes that I had with the iPhone 8. The battery was okay, but my version's battery health isn't the greatest, so I didn't expect too much from it. And the overall quality of the phone was very well, especially since it came out a very long time ago. And there you have you guys, my full review based on my day-to-day use with the iPhone 8 in 2021. And if you guys made it to the end of this video, I'd like to say thank you for sticking around. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe, it'll be very appreciated. And as far as social media, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.